Every morning when I wake up, I go make myself some coffee. I go to my kitchen table, I bring my journal, I bring a book, and I write. I am trying to write before the world has woken up alongside me, before I'm looking at my phone to check my messages or my analytics. I am writing because this is the time when I can be alone with my thoughts and with the thoughts of the great thinkers of history. And I'll admit, I am also doing this because I am trying to shamelessly copy some of those same great thinkers. So I've been reading this book lately, The Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. This is a remarkable book, and a book that I definitely have not spent enough time with. But lately I've been trying to read it again, in part because I want to make some videos about it. I want to talk to you about Stoicism and about this approach to life that for a lot of people out there is proving to be remarkably helpful. However, today is not the day for us to go into all the details about Stoicism. Instead, I just want to talk about this one practice, this one thing that we all could do, following the example of Marcus Aurelius, and that is doing a daily journal. Now, I actually don't know if Marcus Aurelius was a daily writer, and that part is not essential. What is essential, however, is that in the meditations, what we are reading are the personal reflections of a great thinker. And I think that when we look at how Marcus Aurelius wrote this book, we can extract a couple of lessons from it. And I think those lessons could then be applied to our own practice of journaling, which is something I want to encourage everyone to try to do in 2023. So first of all, one of the things that you learn when you read this book is that Marcus Aurelius was not writing for anybody else. Now, this makes a lot of sense when you understand Marcus Aurelius's approach to life, which involves not looking to external things and to the world for your own happiness. So it wouldn't make a lot of sense for Marcus Aurelius to engage in philosophy that was primarily aimed at others. He really sees philosophy and his philosophical goal as the improvement of himself and a way to find peace. And I think that for a lot of people, when they try to start journaling and they feel some anxiety about it, it's because they kind of assume that someone else is going to be reading those journals. And so as I try to encourage you to do some journaling in the coming year, I also want to tell you, no one is ever going to read your journals. Even my journal, I now make YouTube videos about philosophy and literature and bring it all to you. And so that means the thoughts that I put into some of my journals make it onto your little phones or something. But the words themselves that are actually in the journal, those are completely for me. Not a single other soul will ever read them. I can promise you, by the way, I will never be a YouTuber that does a journal flip through because my journals are intensely private. And that's not because I'm revealing maybe my deepest or my darkest secrets in those journals, but rather it is because I have carved out this little space for myself where I said, this is where it's just me, it's just my thoughts, and it's me engaging with things that truly matter. So as I sit down and I try to write, maybe I have a book with me, so I'm taking book notes and I'm trying to extract what I can out of those great books, or it's a time for me to be thinking about my own thoughts, my own approaches to certain philosophical problems. All of that is to say that it's just for me. There are a lot of people out there who are trying to sell you something when it comes to journaling. So they might tell you that you need to go and pay for an app, or you need to go buy a beautiful pen and a great notebook. And I just think all of that's simply untrue. And I say this as someone who uses those apps. And I like nice pens and I like nice notebooks. But in truth, all you need to start a good journal is just any piece of paper and a number 2 pencil. See, there is almost no economic barrier to entry for great journaling. The only mark of success for a great journal is whether you are being thoughtful and reflective. One final benefit of journaling, and this is not a point directly from Marcus Aurelius, but rather from my favorite philosopher, Aristotle. And that is, I believe that journaling is good for you when you make it a habit. Aristotle characterizes virtue actually as habituation of a certain kind. It's the kind of habituation that leads you to act the right way in the right circumstances. One of the things that is required for good habituation is consistency. You have to be able to consistently do the right sorts of things. This is not just an act of discipline or the will. Instead, what we want to do is form our habits so that we just do those things by desire or without thinking. So by journaling and turning it into a habit, maybe you do it every single day. If you can't do that, maybe you do it 3 times a week or 5 times a week and work your way up. But by journaling consistently, what you are doing is creating a habit of intellectual activity, a habit in which you are engaging with the great thinkers in history. I suppose that this kind of video is not so much a how-to as an exhortation. And it is an exhortation to do 2 things: read great books and write about them.